What's going on, Daytona fans? Today we're going to be replacing the Serpentine belt, the belt tensioner, and the alternator. As you guys can see, I have the old belt on the left and the new one on the right. The old one on the left is heavily cracked, and if I keep letting it go, it'll eventually start to squeal. And if I keep letting that go, it'll eventually snap, causing everything that the belt drives to shut down, such as the alternator, the power steering, the radiator fan, and anything else that the belt drives. And if that were to happen in the middle of the road, I would be in huge trouble. So we're going to go ahead and replace that today. We are also going to be replacing the belt tensioner because the belt tensioner has also worn out. I don't have footage of it, but I can definitely show you. When the belt tensioner wears out, it starts to wobble just like this, which causes the belt to wobble and slap the other pulleys. This will cause your other pulleys to prematurely wear, and it'll cause your belt to wear out even faster. Now we're going to do the alternator because I wasn't aware that it had gone bad as well. I had replaced the belt and the tensioner, and I went for a drive. I didn't notice that the alternator wasn't charging until days later. I had replaced the alternator in the rain, so I didn't want to film it. I just wanted to get it done, but I will still tell you what I had to do, which wasn't that much more different after I had removed the airbox. First things first, we're going to have to remove this throttle body cover, and that's held on by three 8mm bolts. Once you remove that, the cover comes right out. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to pull the airbox and the airbox tube off. So in order to get the airbox out, there are two tabs here that you have to press down. And once you press down, you'll hear a click. And then you can just pull the airbox off, at least the top half. And then you're going to take a socket and loosen up this worm clamp. Once the worm clamp is loose, you can just pull the entire airbox and tube out of the way. That way we can get to the alternator. Once that's all set, we're going to go ahead and loosen up the tension on the old belt. And in order to do that, we need a 3/8 ratchet, preferably a long one, because you're going to need to pull, which means you need leverage. The 3/8 ratchet head will go right into the tensioner, and then you're just going to pull until you see slack on the belt. Once you see slack, just pull the belt off of any one of the pulleys. That way it'll disengage the entire belt. Once the belt has been removed, we can go ahead and take out the alternator. The alternator is held on by three 13mm bolts and two power plugs. One of them is a 10mm bolt and the other one is just a regular plug. So once you undo all five of those things, the alternator just pops right out. Nothing else is holding it in place. Now that we have the alternator out of the way, now all you have to do is put a socket into the tensioner bolt right there and just loosen it up like any other bolt, and the tensioner comes out. Now that the tensioner and alternator is out, we can go ahead and just replace both of them. The process is just reverse. You take the new one and bolt everything in. So now that we have everything bolted in, it's time to reroute the belt. The great thing about these older vehicles is that they generally have a belt map when you pop open the hood. I have mine right here. It has all three engine types. Of course, we're working with the 4.0, so that's the 4.0 belt map that we need to follow. Now, if you don't have one of these when you pop the hood, I strongly recommend you either draw it out or you take a picture, because if you don't have some kind of reference, it's going to be a huge headache. Now, the easiest way I found is to loop the belt into every single pulley except one. Whichever one you decide to leave out is entirely up to you. I sometimes do the alternator or the radiator fan, whichever one you can get to the easiest. You're going to leave that one pulley not looped around because you need to wind up the tensioner to give you that slack. And once you wind up the tensioner enough to put it onto the last pulley, go ahead and do that. And then you can just release the ratchet and the tensioner will do the rest. It'll put everything into place. Now that you've got your entire belt system looped around, it is the best time to take a look. Make sure that every rib is in every pulley. You don't want to start it up and have one rib out of place because it's going to tear that belt apart and you're going to need to buy a new one, and that's just a waste of money. Once you're confident that every rib is in place, go ahead and start the car. Once you start the car, head back into the engine bay and watch the belt loop. Watch it run through every pulley. Make sure everything is aligned. If something isn't aligned, turn it off and fix it before it breaks. Alright guys, so that's really how you replace the drive belt, the tensioner, and the alternator. On these cars, it's extremely easy. Everything is right there. There's no fuss. And I would definitely give this repair 3.5 out of 10. It's really not too difficult, and all you need are just a few sockets and a ratchet. Maybe a screwdriver for the plug, but I mean, anybody can do this. I can tell you right now, I saved a ton of money doing this myself. All I had to do was pay for parts. Imagine how much labor costs a shop would charge you for replacing these 3 things. Now beware when you buy stuff like this. Make sure there is not a cord charge, or there is a cord charge. For alternators, there's generally going to be a cord charge, and what that means is that once you replace your alternator, they want the old one back. That way they can fix it up and sell it as a refurbished item for someone else that needs an alternator. The tensioner and the belt does not have a cord charge, so you can go ahead and throw that away. So here we have the receipt breakdown. It totals to about $56. I don't have the receipt on hand for the alternator, but I can tell you the alternator costed $150. So that's about $206, $207 total in parts alone. If you go to a shop, they may charge you an hour to 2 hours worth of labor, and that's easily another $100 to $200 depending on where you go. So by doing it yourself, you're saving about 50% of the repair costs, if not more. Alright Daytona fans, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this video and found this educational at the same time. In the comment section below, let me know if you're a little bit of a handyman like myself. Do you do your own repairs? Do you take it to a shop? Let me know. And until the next video, have a great day. Peace.